All right, guys, I am beyond thrilled to be back bringing you guys a video of this truck. Has quickly become one of our favorites, has quickly become one of our fan favorites, followers, and personal favorites, even for everybody in the shop. This truck is phenomenal, and it's original. So if you haven't caught the previous videos, click back, watch those first, because I'm not going to touch on everything, but I am going to touch on the updates, which are the part that will blow your mind. This is an 83 K20 single family owned truck since brand new. Now I bought this truck in a package. Customer had 2 trucks. He said, I'd like to get this amount. We went back and forth with some text and some pictures, same way we do it with a lot of customers. 2 or 3 or 4 customers a week this way. He named his price. We paid the price. We shipped them. We got them here. We looked them over. When I started looking at this truck, though, I was just overwhelmed by how original it was and how perfect it was. But it also still had a few things that made me question things. The stripes, the bumper, the exhaust. That was really about it. There wasn't much else I questioned. Everything else was pretty much question answered. Brought you guys a couple videos. I called it the Holy Grail. It's probably not the Holy Grail to everybody. It's not even the Holy Grail to us, but it is the best survivor ever to us. Then I backed up on that statement and I said, you know what? There are ones like Dennis Collins and other people have found with 20 miles, 30 miles, 40 miles. Take those out of the equation. This is not that truck. This truck was owned by a guy that had a farm, that used the truck. It was a real truck with a real owner. It didn't get parked when it was brand new. So we would call it the best survivor. And I still will argue it's probably the best survivor on the planet of a truck that's actually been used. You've seen underneath of it, you've seen above it, you've seen beyond it, you've seen under the hood. After producing a couple of those videos, I had a nice text from the fella, glad you got the trucks, because I don't bug people afterwards. If the truck shows up, and trucks show up all the time, we're still working on this red and white one. Again, great customer, great people that owned it, but it needs a lot of work. It still needs work. We're still working on the truck, fixing door locks, fixing window motors, fixing belts and hoses, fixing stuff underneath of it, and then of course adding our customization. I don't call and bug people. If the truck is not to my liking, I either send it to the auction and get rid of it, or we fix it. You know, we do our thing. I never made a phone call to him other than to tell him the truck's arrived. But he took the time to text me and said, hey, glad you like the truck. Call me when you have a moment. So thankfully I was finishing a video and I had time to call him. He said, JW, glad you got the trucks, but I want to clarify something. Cool. He said the bumper. We'll start with that. Then I'm going to get to the good stuff. The bumper. The truck came with no bumper. I know trucks came that way because my father ordered these trucks back in the day for a construction company, brand new, and they would have no bumper, or they'd have a big old school, just like this, step bumper. It would either be painted or it would be chrome, but it would look just like this, an FEY brand. And our local supplier that my aunt worked at, and a very good family friend for the last 30 some years, works at still, she retired from there, sold those bumpers. So we were used to buying them and putting them on. We knew this was not error correct. Also the exhaust we knew was not. We also knew the hitch is much newer. So that was kind of confusing a little bit on a truck that had nothing else done. This is original paint. The pinstripe, in case you didn't watch the other video, was dealership added. It still has the original hoses under the hood, yada, yada, yada. So he said, look, I'll tell you about the bumper. Cool. He said, when we got it, it had a crash panel right here. They had to put something on it to sell it. That's a federal mandate, I guess. So it had a little crash panel, no hitch. They didn't tow anything. It didn't matter. So 15 years later, I don't remember exactly what he said, but I think 15 years later, they decided they did want to start using the truck a little bit. They ordered the bumper, which would have been fully 1990s style rear bumper, and also 1990 style hitch, because I've installed God knows how many of those, so that's exactly what you would have put underneath one of these. The exhaust, because the truck sat, and these trucks run at a colder temperature than a newer motor, it built up condensation. It had plenty of exhaust put on it. This was the last exhaust, but it had multiple exhausts over time. They would start the truck, they would run it, they'd move it every now and then. But it got most of its driving within the first few years, and then it got parked. Here's the coolest part. Kenny validated it. We validated it. Now we have it documented per the previous owner on an affidavit, and we also have paperwork to back it up. Check out the miles. That is 15,000 original miles. Now again, I told you I bought 2 trucks from him, and we did get the paperwork a little mounded up. Wasn't a big deal either way. I didn't care if it was 515,000. The truck was the truck. 15,000 original miles only. In 1989, this guy's father bought a new Blazer. He hated the 350 motor. They put a 454 in it. He fell in love with it, and he just basically just did nothing with this truck any longer. He loved his Blazer. He drove it hunting. He did everything with it. Also, if you look at these trucks, when you see the mileage run across, you can go out and check your Squarebody. The mileage is never perfectly in line. Hit that mileage one more time. It is perfectly in line. Now, we all know people would roll the speedometers. All right, guys, sorry, little glitch with the phone. But anyway, no, they got to line up. If they don't line up, something's been tampered with. Those line up perfectly. I knew that when I looked at it, but again, we never had that conversation. The man didn't ever really tell me 15,000 miles. I didn't ask. The truck was what it was. I love the truck either way, but that was so cool to hear. He said, JW, I'll sign an affidavit, I'll sign documents, I'll do whatever. Of course, we already have a clear title, 15,000 actual miles, but so much stuff is tampered with these days. It's really hard to go by anything. This guy was extremely nice. Me and him talked on the phone for probably 30 minutes that day. And I don't have time to talk to anybody for 30 minutes. But I love the truck. The excitement level is beyond whatever I can describe. So Kenny came in, and me and him are gonna do a full video. He went over it, he critiqued it, he went through the paperwork. He did notice something that I did not notice, and I'll go ahead and throw the white flag that he did find something. First thing he went to was these windshield wipers. You cannot get these, you cannot duplicate these, you cannot falsify those. They are stainless factory arms and wiper blades. Most of the time they're plastic replacements, just like that truck has. And again, I can get super excited about a truck like that, a truck like that, a truck like that, a truck like that, but one that's not, what's an 83? That's 40 years, 41 years old, that still looks like this. The thing he noticed, I'll go to that before I forget. At some time, somebody did add a aftermarket fuel filter right here before the pump. So from sitting, it probably got some bad fuel. So he did notice that. That's how thorough this dude is. He laid under it and saw that. The other thing he noticed that people had argued about was whether this was factory correct. This is factory correct. Somewhere around 82, 83, 84 is when these changes took place. Plastic cap, this right here, it's never, you look at that nut right there, it's never had a wrench on it. Never had a wrench on it. That's original stuff, guys. So that was another argument that people even commented that was wrong. It's not wrong, it's factory. GM hose. One of the 2 belts is still the original GM belt. It's cracked up, but it's still there. Now, if you watch back to the video of the truck Kenny just brought to us, you'll see that he actually took the time and he buffed this. But seeing the sticker that's not been painted around is original. The firewall, you can see where they had a little lazy day on the paint. You can see where it's light. That's because that's the raw silver metal color that they guess clear coated over, maybe it's not even clear coated over, but they had a couple of little what we would call holidays back in the day when the paint didn't all flow like it should. That's original. Under the hood is original. Somebody has added that filter. They have retrofitted the AC. The AC does work properly, fully properly. Everything else is original. None of the nuts, bolts, nothing's been tampered with, which is really cool. Yeah, factory hood felt. This has been added. We talked about taking this off. It's still gonna go to Kenny because I do want to document this truck as well as we can. You only get one shot at trucks like this. You can see the yellow paint right there. Again, if you haven't watched before, you can see the chalk mark right here. It's just some incredible things. But this was probably dealer installed. The pinstripe was dealer installed. The little Chevy symbol right here, dealer installed. And these may have been, I forgot to ask the guy about that. And then it had a roll bar. We took the roll bar out. I didn't even clean that spot because there's nothing to hide. It had a roll bar. But look at the bed. The seam sealer's perfect. All that's original. The bed's never had paint in it. I think we're gonna get him to probably buff inside the bed, and we're gonna decide about putting the roll bar back in it or not. But guys, this is what we live for. We've had over 20,000 trucks through the doors that we've bought and sold. We've had well over another 20,000 trucks through our shop for lift kits and accessories. Might as well call it 50,000 trucks that we have personally, between me and my brothers, touched, bought, sold. It's a crazy amount of trucks. This is by far one of the coolest to drive, the tightest, no wind noise, square body Chevy. To look underneath of it, to see the mounts underneath of it. Daniel even snapped me some pictures when it was on the rack. Crazy, crazy, crazy nice. Now that we have the history with the bumper, because I didn't know, maybe somebody ran in the back of it. They put a new bumper on it. Nope, that's not the case. They bought the bumper 15 years later. That's what you got 15 years later. That's the hits you got 15 years later. The pinstripe you got at the dealer, which is not the same one that we're used to seeing. All the questions have been answered. All the things that were modified, like an extra fuel filter, that's great. It's a good thing. It's not purist, but we could put a line on there, take that out of the loop, you'd never see it. The clamps, the things we brought you on the first videos, so incredible. The rear dome light, cargo light works properly. Everything about the truck is just unbelievable. And I'm thrilled to finish the rest of the story with knowing that it is 15,000 original miles. Both tanks do work. The truck runs perfectly. We drove it to a car show. It got as much attention as the big black truck and the other trucks we took. It didn't get as much attention as the 10-door Suburban, but it was a square body kind of show, classic Chevy show. We literally popped the hood, let people look in and out of it. They were blown away. People have commented, people have called that saw it. It is unbelievable. Everybody asks, is it for sale? And it really isn't. I can't duplicate this truck. I can't replace this truck. If there's a museum, a square body god out there that loves these things more than we do, you know, you can surely reach out. We can talk about it. I would trade for something, but this is a truck that is the time capsule of time capsules. Yes, there's more rare trucks. Yes, it's probably not the Holy Grail, but as far as the best actual used and driven survivor truck, this is the one. And I think according to the slips and everything we have, it went a little bit every year. It didn't just sit for 10, 15 years, period. I think it went a little bit and a little bit. It wasn't much, you know, 50 miles, 100 miles, but it actually was used, not abused, and now it's just it's a story to tell every time we look at it. So really cool. Thrilled to bring you guys an update on that one. There's the real deal. So appreciate it. Stay tuned for more.